Mm, mm, mm. Good morning. Hard to find a word that doesn't feel like it's disturbing the bath. Like even saying good morning is too much. So I think yeah, that's kind of interesting. My voice feels like an offense. Feels like committing an offense against the silence or something. I can see why, you know, we have stories of people getting up and just rattling the lectern and then getting back down, or holding up a flower, and then that's it. That's the whole talk. My cat is not concerned with that, particularly lately. I just noticed that I feel it, feel the bath. I woke up this morning about an hour ago, and like any day, and started my coffee and made my toast, and my 3-year-old came running out of his room, somehow fully awake immediately upon opening his eyes. And he wants me to, put a game on his iPad and do this and do that. And my eyes keep looking up at I rely on the clock on our microwave a lot to tell me what's going on in the world. For some reason, it's the microwave clock. It's not the toaster clock. It's not the oven clock. It's not my phone. It's the microwave clock. I keep looking at the microwave clock, and it's getting closer, closer, and closer. Time to sit. And the thought comes up, well, I'm not in the bath. Oh shit. And I need to get him out of the way and get my breakfast out of the way and get my coffee out of the way and brush my teeth and do all these other things so that I can rush to the Zendo, so that I can get in the bath, so that when I give a talk, I'm in the bath, and there's like all these requirements for getting in the bath. And then I turn on Zoom, and oof, there it is. There's already 31 bodhisattvas in the bath. It was a kind of reflection thing where I can once I'm in the bath, I can look back and see that I was always in the bath. That's kind of a neat thing about this. Once the spell is broken, then I can look back and see I was, even under the spell, I was in the bath. I was, even under the spell, I was blessed. I was on the path. Even when I said the thing I wish I wouldn't have said, or did the thing that I could have done better, or whatever it was always on the path. So that's a nice thing to know, I think, when we're in a session like this, or anywhere, but where we can fall into these deep holes, at least I can, and doubt and recrimination and blame and all those other things. And you can't fall off the path. That koan comes to mind. What is the way? Original mind is the way. Well, how do I turn toward it? Well, if you turn toward it, then you turn away from it. It goes on. And then, from the moment you set foot on the path, It's endlessly wide, endlessly deep. All the ways that we try to get out of it don't work anyway. That's kind of, I think, enlightenment relies on that all the ways we try to get out of awakening's inevitable, really. Um, that's kind of nice to know too. And so all my efforts to try to snare it or charm it or steal it from someone else or steal it from a prior version of myself or a future version of myself or arrange everything on my desk just so, which if you could see my desk, you would see I did not do. And all of those efforts can't hold off awakening. All the trying and meditation, long hours and sore back, stiff knees can't hold off awakening. And all the things we hold in reserve. I was thinking about that as we were sitting this morning. I reserve the right to whatever it is, like those the signs on the restaurants, whatever. We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone. All the things we reserve the right to. I'm going to get in the bath, but I'm not going to, whatever it is. The easiest example for me is I'm going to get in the bath, but I'm going to like prepare really carefully for this talk or something. And the kind of fun thing is, what if you don't do that? Like, I kind of consciously didn't prepare for this talk. Not even because I was trying to do a thing, but because I just noticed I just kept not doing it. It was not that. It wasn't an intentional thing. It was just noticing that my mind wasn't reserving the right to present you with somebody. I don't reserve the right to ignore what's true for me. I don't reserve the right to pretend like some of my feelings or thoughts or experiences aren't true. I reserve the right to be authentically me in every area, but with my parents, with my partner, with one of my kids. I take up the path of, Tess spoke a little while ago about taking refuge, but reserving the right to like not to continue to break one of the precepts. Lying, stealing, misusing sex, whatever it is. I reserve the right to whatever. And really what it is just I reserve the right to not let awakening filter into this area of my life or that area of my life. We hold some piece of us out of the bath. And it's a kind of a funny image, just like get into the bath and like hold your arm out of it or something. Try that right now. Hold up your arm. It's good. How is that? Some people are getting very like, oh, some people are already putting down their arms. Allison's going in and out. And as soon as like, jeez, it becomes a real burden. I reserve the right to hold some piece of me off from my own life, or to not let some piece of life touch me or penetrate me, or and yeah, whatever it is. And it becomes pretty apparent, whatever that thing is for you, in a retreat like this, where you just like, it gets harder and harder to ignore what's there, whether it's the dogs barking at midnight, or, you know, my kid screaming downstairs when mom won't give him a cookie, or my own irritation. And one of the popular ways of holding some piece of us off from awakening is to try to change it, which is a pretty, you know, tempting, um, pretty tempting possibility in a practice like this, where we've got, you can't get away from the fact that you've got ideals and images, and we've got hundreds of years worth of writings and koans and things like that that present all kinds of images of awakening. It looks like this, or it looks like that. One talk and I forgot all I knew. Or for 30 years I searched for a master swordsman, but since the moment I saw the peach blossoms, I never had a doubt. You know, wow, that's pretty awesome. That's probably what mine should look like too. And in so doing, that's part of the refusal, I think, of one of the ways that we refuse the awakening that's appearing right now. What is that? The pure land that is only mind. If it had no special features. Wait, what is it? How does that go? Basically, how would you know you were there? I have no special features. How would you know you're in the pure land? The Buddha of infinite light in your own body. Hold off that one piece. Yes, all beings have the nature of the Tathagata, except for my favorite political opponent, or whatever it is. Except for that way that my wife doesn't dry her toothbrush afterward, and like constantly sitting in a pool of what I imagine to be like really gross liquid of some kind. And then my own like frustration and disgust at that. Like, that's the wow. Just to be in the bath, to really, as David said yesterday, the thing about how we constrict. That's a wonderful image for how we do that. What would it be like just to relax into the bath, which also means relaxing into the constriction, which also means relaxing into the experience of holding some piece of us out of the practice or out of our lives, holding other people out of our lives, whatever the thing is. Then you're just here and it's like, wow, the like sheen of the, I keep my bananas in the refrigerator because they get really ripe really fast here. And so this is like, take one out of the refrigerator, and as it's warming up, it has this kind of sweaty sheen on it, which I always think is kind of gross. And I try to wipe it off. But looking at it now, it's just, yeah, the sheen of the banana that's come out of the refrigerator, awakening in a banana. So everything starts to take on that quality. And it becomes clear that that quality is always there. It's just that we're so busy holding some piece of us out of the world, you know, reserving the right to assert the self in some way. I don't know where to go from there. It's a kind of fun thing to start breaking our own rules. And you can do it in an intentional way, but also in a I don't know that, and sometimes that can be helpful, but in a retreat like this, you just notice, you just wake up and you've broken one of your rules. Oh my God, I did the thing I said I'd never do, whatever it was. I thought the thought I said I'd never think. I felt the feeling I said I'd never feel. I said the thing I said I'd never say for whatever reason. And some little crack appears in the edifice. You know, whatever the image is that I'm trying to mold myself to be like, crack appears in that. And that's that Rumi thing, right? The crack is where the light shines through. And then it becomes this really cool thing about my ownership of myself. The great joke of that starts to fall apart, or the joke becomes apparent. That, oh, ha ha, I thought I was in charge of my life. I thought I was in charge of my thoughts. I thought I was in charge of my emotions. I thought I was in charge of my. I get to see a lot of that when I talk to people, because oftentimes they come and see me and they have something about, help me stop doing X, help me stop doing Y, help, I'm 50 years old, I've been married to my wife for 25 years, help me stop having thoughts about other men. Even as I say, it's like great sadness there, the kind of oppression that we do to ourselves in that way. And there's just this grave misunderstanding at the bottom of it that in some way I'm in the driver's seat. Help me to drive better. But in retreat like this, it becomes really apparent that life is just living itself through me. I know it's like a cliche, but there's a reason cliches are cliches, you know. And the kind of really cool paradox about the fact that when you start to have that experience that life is just living itself through you, there's this um, tremendous trust in what it's doing. And it becomes really apparent to me anyway that all those ways that I'm trying to keep things together are actually, that's actually the genesis of the suffering and the stuckness. That's actually the way that I keep the light out. I keep myself from realizing the cause of water. And that I think maybe John mentioned this last night, that there's this amazing way that things just kind of swoop in, and the events of my life are arranged so impeccably. And like I'll notice if I schedule too much on my calendar, people will cancel. It's like really simple, and it's like it's almost kind of become reliable. I just think, well, I'll just schedule this many people because I know then this many people are going to cancel because I know that this is too much for me. It's kind of not because I think it's too much for me, but because the universe knows that it's too much for me, or it needs me for something else. And so you can start to trust that when it's time to rest, you'll just feel it. And when it's time to press on, even though you're tired, you'll just feel that too. And when it's time to shout, you'll just shout. When it's time to cry, you'll just cry, or laugh, you just laugh. You know? I was talking to somebody the other day about he has a really irreverent sense of humor that his partner does not appreciate. First time, it's kind of great. The first time I met him is on Zoom, and he's got this clock behind him, and I was looking at it. I said, "What is that clock?" And he said, "Oh, it's two." I can't remember what kind of animals they were. It was like stylized. You couldn't quite tell. He said, like, "Oh, it's two badgers fucking," or something. And when he said it, I was like, "Oh, yes, of course that's what it is." I kind of knew that's what it was, but I just needed it clarified. And so immediately I can tell, oh, he's that kind of person, or he has that kind of quality about him, or he's got a clock of, two cartoon badgers in coitus, in midst of coitus. And his partner does not like that sort of humor at all. She does not appreciate that. And so for him, a lot of his path is coming to realize just, well, what does the universe like to do through him? It likes to make off-color jokes. It likes to connect with people. It likes to be playful with people. It likes to be, and then he has a partner who's really not open to that sort of thing. And it's not about his partner really. It's just, that's an expression of the ways that he tries to keep the light out of himself. And the kind of interesting thing is that whatever the light is in you may not have any discernible value in the usual way that we think of value, like making body jokes. I don't know. Is there any value in that? I mean, if I take it upstairs and think about it, I can think of a lot of reasons not to make those kind of jokes around other people, or not to be flirty with people, or not to, but that's just what comes through. And so we start to trust that rather than all the kind of armchair quarterback evaluations of how things ought to be. And then I think that just feeds on itself. And it's like stepping onto the water slide. You scoot a little bit, you scoot a little bit, scoot a little bit, and then you're off. And you can kind of put your feet and hands down to slow yourself down. But once you're on the water slide, you're on the water slide. Once you're headed toward awakening, there's not really any stopping it. You try to slow yourself down, but it's not as much fun. And it's kind of exhilarating too. It's a fun experiment. It really does come back to kind of the just the crux of our practice, which is we just put ourselves in the way of it. If you want to get hit by a train, hang out on train tracks. If you want to get hit by awakening, hang out where awakening happens, which is reliably here every time. Every time awakening shows up here, not there, not then, not when it's just here. And whatever your reasons are for why it's not here, that's okay. That's just what's here too. So Pure Land had no special features. How would you recognize it? Or no, what sort of special features would it have? Either way. And then you'll know when your talk is done, or you'll know when something's right for you or when it's not right for you. You'll know. That's the thing about, you'll know the old Zen thing about, you'll know whether the water is hot or cold. It's like incredibly obvious, and you can't avoid it. All your attempts to avoid it will be eroded. That's one of the great things the water is good for. It erodes things, it breaks things down, it smooths them, it reveals things. So just keep hanging out in the bath. And I'm really happy that I will be hanging out in the bath with you. Thank you very much.